Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 18. We have a great guest today. His name is Alvaro Prieto from Auxis, and we have this really interesting discussion about robotic process automation, or RPA. Something I'd never really thought about before, but they have used it at Auxis with great success, and he goes into a lot of detail, talks about it. So something I think everyone is going to be interested to check out, and there are some links in the show notes, so be sure to check that out. So Alvaro, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thanks, Doug. Yes, my name is Alvaro Prieto, and I'm one of the co-founders here at Auxis. We started this firm about 20 years ago, and I have been leading our technology services for the last, since really the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's been a great career here, just offering a lot of different services, all the way from consulting to managed services to different customers here in the region and across the U.S. And pretty much most of my career has been here at Auxis. Prior to Auxis, I was at PepsiCo, where I was running IT for the Latin America division. And I found running to my partner here today, Raul, who is the CEO here at Auxis. And he was in the finance side, I was in the IT side. And we both decided to kind of join forces and go offer our consulting services to mid-market companies. And here we are 20 years later, doing great, and really excited to have picked this career for us.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so, a lot of times, a lot of the MSPs I talk to sometimes, it's like the tech guy starts it, doesn't necessarily understand much of the business side. So having a partner like Raul, where, he's more on the business side, you're on the tech side, it makes for a great partnership, I'm sure.
It has been a wonderful partnership, and we always bring the business technology focus to our conversations, and I think our customers really appreciate that it's not just a techie only kind of talk, but really bring that business acumen to pretty much every opportunity that we work with. We'll talk more about how we do that in a little bit, but that has been our pretty much our de facto standard, if you will, on how we do business here at Auxis.
Yeah, and I noticed from your website you have quite a few, kind of marquee brands, that you advertise as being your customers. So, definitely looks like you're doing really good.
Yes, yeah. So far, so good, and been relationships that we have formed for many years. Great relationships, personal relationships, a lot of business relationships as well. But yeah, I mean, starting very small, we really, $5,000, or I think it's $5,000 investment. Yeah. And here we are, 400 employees later, and doing a lot of different great things. So working with very amazing customers and multi-billion-dollar companies. So we're very proud of all the effort that not only that we've done, but really the team that we have is really what happened for us. So it's been a great ride.
Cool. Yeah, and I noticed too that you talk about outsourcing and consulting, or consulting and outsourcing. So when you go to your website, it's not about managed services. It's not about that. It's there's a lot of other stuff that you guys offer. And so one of the things that I did notice is RPA, or robotic process automation. Which sounds very interesting. I'm not sure that everyone listening understands what RPA is or how it can help. So why don't you kind of give me a little bit of explanation about that?
Sure. So RPA basically it mimics what a human does in front of the computer. So for all the technology folks in the call, they would know that this would be like a macro. Right? But I call it a macro, but it's a macro on steroids. I mean, it's extremely powerful. Uses a lot of workflow technology to be able to make decisions and go in different directions based on the inputs that is getting from the computer. So it's a technology that we have seen a tremendous return on investment for the opportunities that we have been already implemented the technology. And since we're in the outsourcing business, we are seeing opportunities. We started really on our own center by applying the technology to really help reduce some of the labor that is especially for very repetitive transactions. is perfect for that. And it's amazing to me to this day to find so many organizations with so many of these repetitive transactions that are done by humans, and it's really a waste of a good brain, as I call it. So the technology is really coming through with that, and also it's fairly inexpensive to acquire.
Okay.
So make it very affordable for companies to really give it a shot and seeing the results in a very fast way. So not only is it inexpensive, but it also you can get a very quick turnaround from an implementation perspective and really replace some labor, sometimes quite a bit of them. So it's a very good technology from that perspective, and from the type of customers that we work with, mid-market companies, some large organizations, it plays extremely well. So
yeah, that was you said it's fairly inexpensive, because that was my next question. What's the barrier to entry in getting into RPA? And I guess you said you implemented it in-house first. Was that like kind of around help desk? Was it around billing or invoicing, or?
Well, yeah, sure. So our managed services we have a couple of service offerings, and not necessarily one is obviously on the IT side, where we do everything soup to nuts, help desk, all the way to cloud operations, security, and those type of things.
Okay.
On the other side, we also have a business process outsourcing service that provides finance and accounting outsourcing to a lot of our customers. And we do that out of our center in Costa Rica. So we can talk about that. But so what we've done in applying RPA is on the finance side, on the finance and accounting side, where we have a lot of very heavy transaction volumes on a typical basis, on a regular basis. So we have applied that technology to a lot of those functions, like order to cash process, for example, or processing, kind of those type of things. Now, there's a lot of use cases for IT as well that we are actually in the process of implementing today, especially around, for example, the onboarding and exiting of employees in an organization. That typically is a process that involves going into multiple systems and taking that resource out of those systems, or adding them into those systems. So we are applying RPA to actually automate that process. Other things include, for example, the monitoring of alerts on the NOC, or the Network Operations Center. So all those alerts, you have a lot of false positives on those type of things. So the RPA can actually read these alerts and then triage it and see if it's a real alert or not, and then from there create tickets and things like that. Many different use cases for RPA. When you start looking at it, and that's something that I would highly recommend for everybody to look into, it really brings the automation discussion to the forefront when you're talking to customers about enabling automation, or bringing efficiencies, improving the whole operation itself. So great technology for that.
Yeah, and now, so I noticed, you have a pretty good blog. You talk about RPA quite a bit on your blog. Is there like a certain set of software vendors or anything, just if anyone is looking to get started, where would they start?
Yeah, well, I mean, compared to other technologies that I've been around, like, I'm thinking ERP systems or business process automation systems, like the old IBM systems and all that. Those are very expensive applications to really get into. But this RPA technology is fairly easy to use, fairly easy to get into. I'll explain why. So there's about 3 different vendors in the marketplace, the leaders in the marketplace today. One is called Automation Anywhere. The other one is called Blue Prism, and the other one is called UiPath. But we have actually, here at Auxis, we have selected UiPath as a great, it's a tool that basically for less than $10,000 you can get into, at least acquire the technology. It's what they call is basically you buy these robots, and these robots are the ones that basically provide or do the processing in the computer, or you can actually do it in your data center using what is called an orchestrator. A little bit more expensive. That's kind of a it's basically you don't have to really push any buttons when you have your robots in the data center. When you have just a basic robot software that is installed in the PC that actually logs in and does all the execution of the different activities, that is fairly inexpensive to get. These robots are somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, if I'm not mistaken. So you can get into it very quickly.
Okay.
A lot of material out there to really learn the technology, and it doesn't really. I mean, it requires some light programming, but you don't really need to be a developer.
Okay, that's good.
And technology, yeah. So it's more of a configuration type of thing. But when you need to do certain exception kind of handling and certain type of more sophisticated actions in the robot, you may need the assistance of some sort of development, which is kind of like a .NET, light .NET development type of language. It's kind of what I used to be back in the 80s, and hopefully people know about this. It's completely for applications, or Visual Basic for applications back in the late 80s, 90s. This was as language that you can apply to Excel spreadsheets and make really interesting things with it. So it's similar to that.
Okay. Great. So it sounds like it's somewhat easy to get started. It's not terribly expensive and doesn't require a lot of programming experience in order to get moving forward with it.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, no, really. The key there is to be able to understand really business requirements, processes, which pretty much a good business analyst will understand, and really empower the business analyst sometimes to move into using the technology to automate those processes. So it's a pretty easy system to get into, like I said earlier, compared to others.
Yeah.
There's always something, of course. I mean, we have run into a lot of complex kind of things and we have a really excellent team here at Auxis that does really amazing RPA implementations, which have grown quite a bit and matured quite a bit. I mean, we started on this about 3 years ago, and now we're doing pretty complex things with it that are really more in the development side. But to begin with, I think lightweight type of development, some business analysis skills and some basic configuration, technology configuration skills would suffice. No?
Great. Now, can you plug this in? So, like, if you're using remote monitoring and management or professional services automation, can you plug this into those to help kind of automate some of those tasks as well?
Yes, Doug. So pretty much anybody, anything that you will see in front of your computer, right? Anything you would do with a mouse and your keyboard, entry forms, anything, any software, basically this overlays that screen.
Gotcha. Okay.
It mimics what a person would be doing. So any mouse clicks, any tabs, any kind of data entry stuff, that it basically does that. So it can work on, and it doesn't have any particular dependency of any system at all. So it's like an all macro, right? It just
it sounds exactly like a macro.
The macros basically only work in Excel and Word and things like that, but this can go about multiple systems, and that's another beauty of it, that you can go from a Windows-based system to a green screen system. And take data, for example, from a green screen system and bring it into a Windows-based. So it's kind of like I call it an interface in some cases. Yeah. You basically can run a query from one system, take the data, bring it into another system. So in effect, you're creating an interface at a fraction of the cost it will take you to develop it, right?
Okay.
Some of the advantages of it. Like I said, once you get into it and some of the audience, they're interested on it, they start looking into it. And I call the light bulb goes on, and you see, oh my God, I can do all these things with this thing. It's pretty amazing. So that's where you start really getting into some interesting use cases for it.
Cool. So another thing I want to talk to you about is your nearshore outsourcing. You talk about it on your website. You have a big center in Costa Rica.
Correct.
And you had mentioned that kind of
yeah.
Help me understand why the decision to outsource and how that's working out for you.
Absolutely. So we back in 2005, as a request of our customers, we started into the outsourcing business, really helping them improve their IT operations using the ITIL framework, the ITIL framework. I thought that was the holy grail of IT, as I typically call it, because it really shows how you can really deliver good services in a very structured, disciplined, process kind of oriented way. So we adopted ITIL, and our customers start outsourcing our services, and they wanted us to implement these models for them and get them to a higher maturity level in IT operations and service management.
Mm-hmm.
And late in the 2009 or so, one of our customers really wanted to leverage labor arbitrage savings. They wanted to really basically take the same team, but reduce their labor by doing it sometime offshore. But they didn't really want to go to India or those kind of far places.
Yeah.
And us being from here, being here in Fort Lauderdale and in South Florida in general, very close to Latin America, a lot of our companies really have a Latin background, Latin flavor. I'm from Colombia myself, and we travel all over Latin America all our lives. Found that Costa Rica being a great location for outsourcing. Actually, Costa Rica in the 40s abolished their army and took a lot of that money and invested into their own country for expanding the roads and bringing attracting foreign talent or foreign organizations. And it started with Intel, who actually came and started their own Pentium processor plant. Actually, was developed in Costa Rica, and from there, a lot of companies, big multinationals, started to follow in Costa Rica. So also Costa Rica, you find the highest number of English-speaking people in Latin America.
Okay.
For us, being a company that is outsourcing to U.S.-based customers, English was absolutely a must.
Yeah.
And also Costa Rica is the cultural affinity that Costa Rica has with the U.S. is extremely high. I mean, you go and you walk in the halls and you see NFL, course and people with the U.S. kind of music. So it's a very Americanized country. You really feel you're literally in the U.S. It's as close to a U.S. experience as I have seen in any country in Latin America myself. So, so we picked Costa Rica as an experiment. We started with 3 people, just kind of test the waters and see how it will work out. It was 3 engineers actually, a network and a server engineer, a couple of folks in each, and it was 3. And if you fast forward that to today, we have close to 400 people there today.
Wow.
And really pretty much delivering 100% of the customers are US-based customers. So it's been a great experience working with the Ticos or the Costa Ricans. And we are actually looking to continue our expansion in the country by opening another center.
Wow.
Perhaps extending into other areas in Latin America as well.
Yeah. And I know one of the things too, like Costa Rica, it's for the US, it's Central Time Zone.
It is Central Time Zone. It's very short it's a close flight from Miami. It's a 2.5-hour flight.
Yeah.
So pretty much you can fly from New York directly into Costa Rica. There's multiple direct flights into San Jose. So and a lot of people really know Costa Rica, especially Americans, from the ecotourism and more. They don't look at it from a business perspective a lot. But it's pretty amazing the amount of parks or business parks they have in the country, with the who and who of American companies really have operations in that country today. Cool. So it's been a great success for us, and our customers really love working with the Costa Rica resources that they interface with on a daily basis.
That's great. I have not been to Costa Rica myself.
No?
Maybe someday I'll make it there.
Highly recommend it.
And I'll try to get off the beach and check out the towns and explore it a little bit more than just hanging on the beach. So
it's from an ecotourism perspective, it's a wonderful country. They really done an amazing job on making that the real. It's a major source of income for the country. I mean, almost more foreigners in Costa Rica than Costa Ricans.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who've been there and they love it. They say great things about it. So one of these days, I'll just book a flight and head on down.
Highly recommended. Just let us know when you go.
Will do. So one of the other things, and again, a lot of the MSPs that I talk to on this, or managed service providers, they're smaller than you, right? They don't have anywhere close to 400 people anywhere, let alone in an outsource center. But I guess one of the other questions is from a getting business standpoint, right? think back to when you started, how did you advertise? Was it just kind of relationship based and word of mouth, or, do you actually put a lot of effort into advertising your services and what kind of venues do you use to do that?
Yeah, well, we really started as a typical relationship-based business, as we most, at least from my experience, the biggest customers that we really have come from our own personal relationships that we've been able to develop here in this town and in other places, or through referrals. Of course,
Yeah.
word of mouth is very important. So we work a lot in that way with not a lot of number of customers, a large number of customers at the beginning, really working what we would call core accounts that would feed us a lot of work from a consulting perspective. And keep in mind that we started as a consulting organization.
Yeah.
Our outsourcing business really came a little bit later. So we have been able to develop a lot of those relationships with our, and that's been a very important thing for our business. We have customers that have been with us for 15 years, or more, and we're still doing a lot of work for them. But we used to be proud of saying that we were the best kept secret in town, which not necessarily from a business growth perspective is not good.
Yeah.
So we started investing more into our marketing resources and really going out there into public speaking opportunities that we go and talk about our firm. About now, if you fast forward to today, I mean, we are night and day where we were before in terms of marketing, and have a great team here that help us really put the word out there through a lot of inbound marketing techniques in terms of blogging and writing a lot of different content materials, webinars and things like that. So that's kind of what we are today. But back in the day, I mean, when we started, I mean, we didn't have social media, didn't exist.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of emails and that. But I mean, I think if anybody wanted to start today, definitely leveraging social media will be a massive. It's a great opportunity to really put out there and be known for the type of things that you're passionate about and you truly believe on. So social media is obviously very important for us. Webinars, like I said, public speaking to me is one of the most effective ways that you can really get people to know you fairly quickly. And working with different groups here in the U.S. To go and have those kind of opportunities to speak. Right.
Yeah. So what kind of venues do you typically get speaking opportunities at? Is it industry events, trade shows? I guess what's your
industry events. I mean, like our firm is really half is let's say business related, the other half is really technology related. So from a business perspective, really any events that are CFO base, where we see a lot of, because we sell to C-level officers typically. So CFO type of events, the international outsourcing professionals, the AOP is it's a venue we speak quite a bit on those events in the past, and lately I've been speaking on the mid-market enterprise summit. They have different venues across the country. Where we go and speak in front of a lot of CIOs about RPA, for example, or things that could be interesting, or the business of IT, as I call it, or the modern IT organization, some topics around those things. But yeah, those are the type of venues that we typically hang out. Very industry specific, some retail specific events that we've done, which we do quite a bit of work in the retail industry. So there's some of those more industry related.
Yeah, that's great, because one of the things I always I kind of like is the more you can get yourself out there and get yourself exposure, the better it is. And like you said, being able to go out and do public speaking, being on social media, blogging, even if you're just a one-man shop or one-person shop, the more that you can kind of get your name out there and get yourself out there, the better. So
no doubt about it. I mean, and today, with the amount of access that we have to these type of things like video conferencing and and really being out there in pretty much on social media, like I said, or doing webinars, just developing content and being and researching on new technologies and really educating. A lot of MSP work in many ways at the beginning is an educational process. Really, you really need to sell the real value. It's not like you're taking orders. It's a long selling process in some cases, and you really have to, because our focus is always to move from people-centric organization to a services-centric organization. Mm-hmm. So that is a transformation in itself. So that really requires some education a lot of cases, to really help the customer really understand the true value of going into these kind of services. And it's great for me personally to hear once they make the transformation, when they tell us, and I should have done this 3 years ago. Where were you?
I know. It's always hindsight's 2020, right? Should have done this a long time ago. So speaking about technology, mm-hmm. Whether it's business related or consumer related, what technologies are you most excited about today? Whether it's like stuff on the horizon, stuff coming, what gets you excited?
Well, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, which is RPA. I mean, I'm very excited about the technology. I mean, in all the years I've been around, I mean, it's almost 30 years now, is one of these technologies that I have seen that it really delivers the value that it promises. Right?
Okay.
And it does it in a very cost-effective way, which is also very important. I mean, there's a lot of technologies out there, and CIOs, and I don't blame them, they're skeptical of adopting anything new, because the cost of change is significant in some mm-hmm. cases, right? They hire the price on the software, the technology, they hire the change, right? The bigger the change. And that typically end up costing quite a bit more money than they anticipated.
Yeah.
So in this technology, it's fairly non-intrusive, and it's easy, it's lightweight, and it's very powerful, right? When you start thinking about it. I think 60 Minutes actually did a section on this about automation. McKinsey, for example, believes that 53% of the U.S. workforce could be automated by 2025. I mean, it's a little crazy, but there are some big numbers out there that are really, showing that we are doing a lot of things fairly inefficient when it comes to back office processes. So I think technology, I'm very excited, because there's, and we're just on the early stages. Obviously, the next step on this is going to be machine learning and AI.
Yeah.
I think that these technologies, once you start really understanding the patterns of how a person really does their regular work, they will start programming almost themselves by learning those type of things. For example, the RPA has a learning module. So basically, it basically records everything that a person does in front of the computer. Mm-hmm. What it doesn't record is when you actually run into some sort of exception and doesn't know what to do with it. That's where you have to have somebody to go on and program it the right way, or configure it the right way. That is, but in the future, I can see a lot of these machine learning and AI is coming into RPA to really start automating what is called knowledge work, right? So mm-hmm. I'm pretty excited. I think that's going to be a massive change from a technology. And the thing is that this technology is not necessarily an IT project; it's more of a business initiative, which I love when there's business. The business is driving this kind of decisions. Yeah. Coming with technology, kind of cool stuff to do. Other technologies that I think are interesting is mostly in the security space, and it's also related to AI and machine learning, which is these technologies that are, I mean, security is a massive issue for a lot of companies, and I think it's continue to grow and become more of a bigger issue for organizations that are not really doing much about it today. But there are some technologies out there that are really are using machine learning to understand pattern recognition, be able to stop different things from happening. Because when you actually manage a security operation, I mean, you're getting millions of events almost on a regular basis. It's mind-boggling the amount of events that you have to process. And this technology helps on that type of things, using technologies like Watson, right? IBM Watson. IBM is doing a great job with their Watson, and it's starting to get into very interesting applications for different industry segments, right? So I think using Watson in the security space is going to be a big deal in the future. So I've been looking at it and been kind of paying attention to it and see kind of how it develops. But more to us, on the RPA business, I think I'm very excited about AI. I mean, AI has been, I was taught, artificial intelligence in college in the 80s with this prologue, I think it was called, but nothing, it didn't go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And now it's really happening. So I think, those are kind of some of the key technologies that I'm keeping an eye on right now.
Okay. What about any technology that has you worried?
That has me worried? Well, I'm worried about the same actually, because talking about on some security folks here, the crooks are really getting into machine learning as well. So they are trying to outsmart some of the technologies that are trying to stop them, right? So I'm kind of this same technology, if it's on the wrong hands, just like almost everything, pretty dangerous. And hackers, are pretty smart. I mean, if I don't have to tell you all the crazy things that they're doing out there, and that you hear of how they penetrate in these impenetrable systems that they call, right? But they're getting very smart about it. So I'm actually worried about that. I mean, I've been worried about how that's going to impact us and how are the IT professionals are going to react to those kind of type of things. But yeah, I'm worried about it. I mean, there's some other technologies that I think are getting phased out. That all these whole big ERP systems, I think, are getting phased out in a good way. Very expensive to manage, and I think cloud ERP solutions that are fairly lightweight with tremendous capabilities are coming in. But I mean, if I would say worried from I would say the first thing that comes to mind is this machine learning that the crooks are actually using. That's the Chinese are kind of getting ahead of the game on that one.
Yeah, and it's kind of common. I've talked several interviews. A lot of times the technology they're most excited about is also kind of some of the same stuff that they're worried about, especially from the security standpoint, like you mentioned, and the bad guys getting access to it. So
yes, yeah, I think that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye very closely, and it's going to potentially give us a lot of work to help companies really defend themselves around these type of things. It's going to take a big effort.
Okay, well, it is now time to start wrapping things up, and that means it's time for our rapid fire round. So it's just a couple of quick questions, yes, no, one answer to the other. Don't put a lot of thought into it. First thing that comes to your mind. It's really easy. You ready?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right.
Shoot.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Okay. Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Linux.
Okay. Amazon or Azure or something else?
I said Amazon.
Okay. Local backups, cloud, or both?
Cloud.
Okay. In networking problems, is DNS always to blame?
Not really.
Okay. Should you always virtualize, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then, think back to, previous days, which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Golly. Printer support.
Printer support's worse. Okay. See, that was pretty painless. So, just like to throw some. Well, you have certainly opened my eyes to robotic process automation / RPA. I'll be sure to include some links in the show notes, and if you've got any, definitely shoot them my way so I can put them in there to share with the audience. It's been a great discussion. Before we wrap things up, anything else you want to kind of let people know about, or words of wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. If they're interested in RPA, we actually have we conducted a survey with a lot of companies, 100 and some companies, where the results are in our website. So if anybody's interested in understanding where is RPA today, this survey really provides a really good insight on what's going on in the industry with the technology and so on. So I highly recommend people to go in and download the survey results.
Great.
But yeah, if anything, be happy to help on any kind of way, and any advice for the newcomers into the industry. I'd be more than happy to assist. And probably get my email there, my number sometime. But yeah, I'm here to help.
Mm-hmm. Great. So if you have, again, if you're listening, check out the show notes. There'll be some information there to check that out. Alvaro, thank you so much. It's been great, and it's been very educational for me, and I hope for our audience too.
Thank you, Doc, and thanks everybody.
All right, have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.